Hi everyone, it's Nichol Spohr and welcome back to my channel. Today we are celebrating the Pinkfresh Studio September 27th release, which features amazing new stamps, dies, stencils, and hot foil plate products. I am using the Stencial Alpha for my projects today, as well as some great stenciling. And yes, the brand new solid hot foil plate is here, meaning no more waste of our foil sheets. You kind of get to use those leftover pieces to create even more foiled backgrounds, or in this case, alphas. This is an amazing product. You can see it there on my desk. We are going to start by foiling our Stencial alphabet first. I'm going to be using some polished brass Spellbinders foil for my cards today. And I'm just measuring it out here. You want to lay your foil plate down on your Glimmer Hot Foil System platform. You want to put the shiny side down with the dull side towards your cardstock. I'm using Hammer Mill smooth cardstock here. This Hammer Mill cardstock is a game changer, you guys. This is brand new to me. I know that the girls and guys over at Pinkfresh Studio talk about this all the time, but oh my goodness, they were not kidding when they say it foils so great. So I have foiled my sentiments. I'm going to take that solid plate, place my negative space on that with another sheet of the Hammer Mill cardstock. We're going to run that through, and then I'm going to peel it up. And I peeled that one pretty quickly because that had a good foil. Kind of go slow though. I'm going to show you why in a second. And then you guys, coordinating dies. How amazing is that? Okay, I already foiled the second part of the sentiment. So we're going to switch out for our solid hot foil plate again. Place the second half of the alphabet right there on the solid plate with our Hammer Mill cardstock. We're going to make our sandwich. And we are going to then run this through our die cutting machine. So you hit that button and you heat it up. I do have some other videos giving more detailed instructions on the Glimmer. I want to show you this though. See how it didn't foil very good and I'm peeling it slow? I actually smoothed it back out, placed it right back on that solid hot foil plate, and I'm going to heat it up again, run it through my die cutting machine again, and this is that same piece of paper. Hardly any really light areas. Just a little bit, but most of that's going to be die cut off, so I went ahead and kept it. But look at that. No waste. I absolutely think this is brilliant. I am going to switch now and do a little stenciling. This is the Pinkfresh Studio Garden Roses, another brand new product. We are going to start by stenciling with Coral Reef Pinkfresh Studio ink. All of the inks I'm using today are from Pinkfresh Studio, and this is Stencil 1. You'll also notice that I have all of my alphabet in my little tray here. I actually have a lot of leftover foil pieces from Pinkfresh Studio from other projects in this muffin tin as well, but that is great because I can just grab for them when I am creating projects. I do want to mention, as I'm stenciling this beautiful garden rose image, that Friday, October 1st, during my regular YouTube live, my weekly live, we are going to be doing in-depth foiling of Pinkfresh product. We may even throw in some other things, I haven't decided, but for sure Pinkfresh with the solid plate. I'm going to show you some tips and tricks in real time. And we're just going to go through the whole steps of hot foiling, because I do know a lot of times when I'm doing these card videos and I've sped it up, it goes pretty quickly. And so that is going to be a much more in-depth and real-time version of foiling. So definitely stay tuned for that. Grab the link to be reminded for when I go live on Friday at 9 a.m. Central Time. My second color was Passion Fruit. And now I am using Berrylicious as my third color. So we are on our third stencil here. Look at the detail of the beautiful roses. Now, I actually did not use the coordinating stamp with my stenciled designs today, at least not for the actual stenciled designs. You can definitely stamp that with a black ink, a darker ink. You could do clear embossing ink and heat emboss with an embossing powder. I would probably go gold. That's generally my go-to for something like this, and that would be beautiful. Our next stencil is the start of the leaves. We are going to use mint ink first, and then our second leaf stencil will be in meadow ink. And we simply want to keep adding all of our color here. And I'm using the Simon Says Stamp blending brushes, the small version. They are perfect for these small areas of these leaves. Love, love, love these blending brushes. They work like a charm. Okay, here is the meadow ink, and this will be the final layer for my stencil set. And then there is a coordinating die for this. So for this particular image, there's the stamp, the stencils, and the die. You could also definitely stamp and color in this Garden Roses image with your favorite coloring medium, whether it's Copics or water-based markers or watercolor. That would be beautiful as well. So here is that coordinating die. And I'm simply going to line that up, tape it in place, and run that through my die cutting machine. Now, I did do 2 of these backgrounds because I'm going to be using a slimline card, and so I felt like I might need a few more roses, and I definitely did. I want my Ina's alphabet to match my background. So I'm actually using Tidal Pond, which is not a color I used for the leaves, for my alphabet. And I'm just going to do, I'm using Tidal Pond to do the first part of the stenciling of the alphabet. So the Ina's alphabet, the choices you have here are the alphabet stamp, which I'm not using today. So there's the stamp, there's the, and I guess I should mention, if you don't have a foiling system, you can get the stamp and you can stamp and emboss this with gold embossing powder and get a similar kind of effect, because then you could grab and pick up the stencil set and kind of do what I'm doing here. So kind of imagine stamping and embossing and then doing the steps from that if you don't have a hot foil system. I love that you have the option. So there is the stamp, the dies, the hot foil plates, and also the stencils. And the stencils, you guys, are amazing. I mean, they are a little bit, I thought it was going to be intimidating. It is a little bit of stenciling, but so worth it. So the first stencil is the actual letter. This is so much easier than trying to color with markers too. Then the second stencil is the flower base. And I'm going to go back. I want these to coordinate and complement the Garden Roses that I just stenciled. So we're going to go back to our coral reef color, and we are going to go ahead and get a nice base color there. And again, you can see that the small blending brushes from Simon Says Stamp work amazing here because they're nice and small for all of these little spaces. And I'm also using the waffle flower stencil mat underneath, which is incredible. This is the mini size I'm using on camera today. I have the mini and the regular, and they are both amazing. And you can see how easy it is to use. So already the flowers on these Ina's Alpha is looking amazing. Stencil 3 is the base color for the leaves, so we're going to go back to mint. Remember, I used Tidal Pond, which is a darker color for the base of my alphabet, and I did this on purpose so that my leaves could still be the same lighter colors, but my alphabet could be a little darker. And we're just going to give a nice light coverage to all of the leaves in our alphabet. Then we have Stencil 4. Stencil 4 is going to be the next layer of our flowers. That's going to go back to our passion fruit color. That's our mid-tone color for our red roses. And all of the alphabet is on one stencil. It's just the first part of the alphabet is on the upper part and the second half of the alphabet is on the bottom part. So I will be repeating what you see here for the second part, but I will speed that up in the video just a little bit to save some time. Then we have Berrylicious as our final layer for the 5th stencil for the final layer for the flowers. And then we have the final layer for the leaves with Stencil 6. And look at the detail now, you guys. Is that not beautiful? And then we have our last stencil, and we are going to use Meadow Pinkfresh Studio ink for this. I just can't get over the detail and how amazing it is. How much do we love layering stencils? Raise your hands if you love it. Definitely leave me a comment down below and let me know, because oh my gosh, amazing, right? I just can't get over it. I think they are absolutely phenomenal. So here is the sped up version. You're going to see me just go right back through. In fact, I didn't even clean my stencil. As soon as I'm done with all of my steps, I actually took my stencils and washed all of them, and I put them in the drying rack. My friend Shari Moss has a link a while back to this amazing like bottle drying rack, and it works so great for stencils, and it's what I've been using, and it just is incredible. So definitely a great way to dry the stencils. But I just clean mine with a little warm water and then soap if they are a little stubborn, but generally it'll come off with just a little warm water. And I have found that that's my preferred way of cleaning stencils, because when I was trying to clean them with like a microfiber cloth, a lot of times it would snag. And so generally when I can, I will just run them under some warm water. We're our 3rd layer, which is again Berrylicious. It is Coral Reef, Passion Fruit, and Berrylicious, and then the leaves are Mint and Meadow. And the letter base is Tidal Pond. All right, looks like we just about have everything. I might have gone a little out of order here. I probably just grabbed them and went. Didn't even read the numbers up at the top. Okay, we're going to grab our coordinating dies, and now we're going to die cut these. From a slim diagonal die from Pinkfresh Studio. This is not a new product. It's something I had in my stash. I actually even had these already die cut. I think I just never used them. I am going to flip one over so that I can kind of create this trellis background for my card. So I'm going to glue the bottom one kind of upside down to the front of my slimline card base, and it is a little bit bigger than a standard slimline, which a standard slimline is 3.5 by 8.5, but I'm just going to let it overhang, and then I'll trim off the excess when the glue dries. We will put the other die cut right on top of that, and you can see it creates a great little trellis. Just going to use my Tim Holtz long shears here to trim off the edge, anything hanging off the edge. And it's going to give us a fantastic decorative textured background for adding our beautiful garden roses. I love it. Looks like I lost a couple of strips. We're going to glue them back real quick. And then look how pretty our roses look against this background. I love how the slimline really will fit a much larger sentiment, but I'm also going to show you how to put the word birthday on a standard A2 size card front as well. So I'm going to glue my garden rose image over here on the left side of my slimline card, and then I'm going to start gluing down my hello letters. Now I will tell you, I really should have used a ruler here. I'm able to kind of salvage it, I think, but for my remaining cards, I actually did use a T-square ruler so that I could line up my letters perfectly. But I love this Ina's Alpha. Isn't it beautiful? And you can use it for so many different things. So I'm going to use the stenciled letters for 2 cards, and then I'm going to use the gold version for my final card with a different stencil set. So now I have leftover trimmed pieces, plus I have my other die cut piece. So I'm actually going to start with my other full die cut piece kind of down here in the lower right corner. And then I'll add my O on top of that. But I am going to utilize some of those extra trimmed off pieces. I always save them because you can find ways to incorporate them into your cards. So here's a little piece I'm going to put in the upper right corner of my slimline. And then that leaf sticking there in the bottom, it wasn't dry all the way, so I just kind of peeled it off. I decided I would rather have more pink and more of a rose down here than the little bit of leaf. So you can see how I'm just kind of piecing that together, and then I'm going to trim off anything excess. So pretty. I love, love, love these stenciled flowers. Pinkfresh Studio just knocks it out of the park with their stenciled, layering stencils and the layered stencil flowers. So for my sentiment, I'm going to stamp Hope All Is Well from this same Garden Roses stamp set. I'm going to use a Simon Says Stamp sentiment label die to die cut this into a sentiment strip. You definitely would not have to if you have if you don't have a sentiment label die, rather, you can always just trim this with your paper trimmer into a thin strip. I am then going to pop this onto my background with a little foam adhesive right underneath the word hello. I did stamp that with the Tidal Pond Pinkfresh Studio ink. Trying to probably get that die cut perfectly. Got my foam adhesive on that. And then we're going to finish our card with, yes, of course, some little red heart accents because I think they match the colors of the flowers really nicely. We're just going to pop those in place. And there is our Hello Slimline style card. So beautiful and really so easy. And we have lots and lots of leftover letters. So for my second stenciled background or stenciled floral arrangement, this is the Dahlia bunch. And oh my goodness, this is another beautiful stencil set. What we're going to do this time though is instead of doing all the first layer in one color, I'm actually going to use a lot of different colors. So this is a much more colorful floral bunch. I'm starting with the Peach Fuzz, pardon me, Pinkfresh Studio ink for the orange flowers. We're going to again start with Coral Reef for the red, Lemon Whip for our yellow flowers as the base, and this is stencil 1. I'm going to use the stencils in the order that they come in. And then the small flowers up high are going to be stenciled with Sky Blue. Now we're going to go ahead and do the same thing again. I went ahead and did 2 backgrounds at once. I'm showing you just because I think if you want to do assembly line style card making, this is a fantastic way to do this. I will tell you, I actually didn't use this second image for a card today. I will likely just do another one off camera using some of the extra letters and things because I have loads of Ina's Alpha in the gold left over, and then of course I have another full background, stenciled background. I just didn't do another card for on camera, but I did stencil these at the same time because I feel like while you have the stencils, while you have the ink out, go ahead and do several and you can make a whole bunch of cards at once. Now there are a couple of other sections when we get to this stencil. So this is stencil 2. And you can see that it adds another little flower up at the top right, and then it adds a group of flowers down in the bottom left. So I am, for the light purple, I'm using soft lilac, and then I'm doing my second color for everything else, which is passion fruit, apricot. Let me see what the yellow is going to be. Sweet mustard. For the blue, it is summer shower. And I have linked to all of the ink colors in the description below. So if you're wondering at any time exactly which colors I used, you can find those there. Clementine is my third color for the orange. Candy violet is my second color for purple. Our third color for red, of course, is Berrylicious, and then for yellow is Marigold. And our third color for blue is Seaside. The stencil mat from Waffle Flower is fantastic because it really does kind of help hold and grip your paper. I just find there's not near as much slippage. I don't have to tape anything in place. It works really great. I'm just holding it with my fingers and stenciling. For the final stencil, that is like the flower centers and like just the little finishing detail. So I'm using my darkest color for any of that. I don't like that color I used for the red flowers, so we're actually going to use Candy Apple here. And then we're going to take the coordinating die for the Dahlia bunch and die cut this. So for this, you get the stamp set, the die, and the stencils. Next, we have our leaves. Yes, after all that work and all those colors for the flowers, we do have the leaves. This is only going to be two colors, mint and meadow, just like before. And we're going to do one right after another. You can see how easy it would be if you wanted to do even more than what I'm showing here. And then finally, our last stencil. And I love how easy these are to use. They just line up perfectly. And there is our final background. So now we are basically going to finish our final cards. I've got a birthday card, which I am going to stamp. I know I mentioned I'm not using the Dahlia bunch or the Garden Roses stamp set kind of traditionally, but we are going to take the Garden Roses stamp set and we're going to create a custom background using our lightest green mint ink, the lightest color we used for the leaves. We're just going to stamp this all over the background, kind of repeat stamp it to create a very light decorative background to pop our Ina's Alpha on to make a birthday card. And this is a quick and easy way to create a very subtle decorative background that's a little bit more interesting than just white. And I'm simply moving it around in my Misty mostly. I kind of gave up after a while trying to get it to fit in my regular Misty. I probably should have grabbed the memory Misty. I just didn't want to get it out of the drawer. But it might have made it a little easier and a little less work to kind of move it around and get it where I needed it to go. I ended up kind of giving up and just grabbing an acrylic block and stamping parts of it, the image in certain corners to fill in that empty space. But you can see how pretty that light mint is in the background. I wanted something that would complement the letters, but still kind of just tie everything in together perfectly. And I think it's important to kind of show you the process and show you how I get to the finished result, because sometimes it doesn't always just kind of come the way you think. All right, I think I have just a couple of little corners left, and I found that the easiest way would be to take my acrylic block, so that's what we're going to do. Because it just isn't going to fit. I tried and tried and tried. I always like to show you when I fail because I think it's kind of not funny, but it's real. This is how crafting is a lot of times. It's trial and error. So I didn't even grab an acrylic block that fit my stamp, but that's okay. This is the background. I'm not too worried. I just want that subtle color. It ended up working perfectly, and I love how it ended up looking. So we're going to take our Ina's Alpha now, and I am going to spell out birthday. Now remember how I said I should have used my T-square ruler to adhere my letters? We are going to do that this time. I am going to pop them up with foam adhesive, which does take a little bit of work. My best tip for this is I love the thin adhesive strips, but if you remove the backing paper from both sides, they bend really easily around the curves of the letter. So I definitely recommend that. Now I do want to stamp and emboss some sentiments on my background first before I add my large alpha. So we are going to stamp the word sending and then the phrase smiles and hugs on the background with clear embossing ink and heat emboss with antique gold embossing powder so that our sentiment will read sending birthday smiles and hugs. Isn't that going to be pretty? Look how amazing that sentiment is. It is the decoration on this card. Not only is it the sentiment, but it is the decoration, and it's so bold and beautiful. So here is a little clear embossing and watermark ink that we are going to stamp our sentiment. And I'm going to grab my gold embossing powder and emboss that. And then we will adhere our letters with the foam adhesive on top. Or in between, I guess, the stamped and embossed sentiments. And I kind of noticed that my embossing powder was sticking in a couple of areas, so I'm taking a dry paintbrush and wiping that away before I heat emboss to get the most clear stamped impression. I forgot to use my powder tool prior to stamping. I probably should have done that to help keep the embossing powder from sticking to other areas. Starting at the bottom, you can see I have my T-square ruler lined up, and I started with the middle letter, the letter A, and I placed that down first, and then I'm going to put the D to one side and the Y to the other. We're going to move up a row, again using our T-square ruler to keep everything nice and aligned, and we're going to add the letters T and H before finishing with the top row of letters to complete our birthday sentiment. Popping up the letters gives them a nice little bit of depth and dimension and added interest to our card. Once we have all of our letters in place, we are going to take a red heart accent and add that to the end of the smiles and hugs sentiment. And because I stamped the background garden roses right on the top fold card base, no extra layers of cardstock, which I love. And we're just going to add one little red heart accent right down here at the bottom. For my final card, I took a Simon Says Stamp masking stencil and the sky blue Pinkfresh Studio ink, and I created a simple mask on my card front. Again, I'm not using any extra layers of cardstock and simply using my card base to add this. Then we're going to glue the dahlia bunch right to the front of that. We're going to utilize the entire floral image, and we're going to pop up our gold foiled letters, the negative part of our Ina's alphabet. Just like we did with the word birthday, we will pop up the letters, and then we will stamp and emboss a smaller sentiment from the Dahlia Bunch stamp set and add it underneath before finishing with some red heart accents. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for this trio of Pinkfresh Studio stamped foiled, and stenciled cards. The supplies I use to create my cards are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Here is another video featuring Pinkfresh Studio products that you might be interested in. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell to never miss a new card making video. Thank you so much for joining me today, and we'll see you next time.